Hello, everyone, and welcome to Alaska Quarterly Review's YouTube channel. My name is Steve Vick, and this year marks the 40th anniversary of the founding of the Alaska Quarterly Review in 1980. The founders and founding editors were Ronald Spatz, James Jacob Liszka, both of whom were newly hired professors at the University of Alaska, Ron in English and Jim in philosophy. Over these many years, Alaska Quarterly Review has earned widespread recognition and is considered to be one of America's top literary journals. As the Washington Post wrote, that one of the nation's best literary magazines comes out of Alaska may seem surprising, but so it is. Today we have the founders with us, and this is what I want to know. Looking back 40 years, what you guys were thinking when you hatched this idea and what made it a reality. Ron, you're still at the tiller there. Let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And hi, Jim. Good seeing you across the miles. Well, what I remember in August 1980, I was very excited. Had gotten a job that was sort of the dream job in an environment that was new, exciting, mysterious. I didn't know too much about it, but I had read John Haynes and in his winter news. I mean, hey, where we were going is where the cold begins. I mean, not only ends, but that's where it is. And the wells were freezing, so it went all the way down to the middle of the earth. So I was pretty excited about this adventure. And I had done some prep before I had arrived with my new job at the university. And I had talked with a colleague of mine, Stuart Dybeck. I had first done a search to see what was coming out of Alaska or Anchorage, anywhere that on some kind of a consistent basis in the literary arts, and we couldn't find anything. Now, there was no internet back in those days, so we may have missed some things, but nothing was coming out nationally in any consistent way. There were no doorways. What I'd found out by other means, there were some literary events that were more local, more the mirror, more community oriented, you know, like making a booklet from a class or a writer's group. There were some good writers, good artists, but there wasn't anything. So the path was clear to actually bring something that could do something significant for the state, to build a doorway that would bring people in and connect them to the larger literary world. And so I had that idea. When I met Jim, we actually arrived, I think, just about the same day in August. And so we talked about it right away. And, I was really impressed with talking with Jim because, like me, he had a global and international view. Gone to the New School. He had all kinds of artistic ideas. He was interested in global events as well as national ones. So I felt there was an opportunity, if he was interested, for us to do something maybe significant that would create the doorway. That's really what I was thinking. And then I pitched it to him. I have no idea why he said yes, because he never said why. He said, something like, okay. In fact, we agreed to do a couple of things then, right on the spot. That's what happens when you're in a place where the cold begins. You just agree quickly, I guess. But anyway, I'd be interested to know, Jim, what were you thinking when I shared that wild idea with you?
Yeah, well, Ron, just like you, I came up from Alaska, not knowing much about Alaska. I came from New York City, which is just about as opposite as you can get in terms of culture and so forth. But I just fell in love with Alaska right away. It's just a fascinating place, very beautiful, and I just fell into it. It was great, and I met you, and I felt like we were fellow travelers in terms of our interests and that sort of thing. And so when you pitched this idea of a journal to me, I thought, I've been thinking also about the connection between philosophy and literature. This was a growing interest in the field. Postmodernism was starting to develop. My own field of semiotics, but had a lot of interest in narrative and so forth. So, I think like you, I wanted this journal to be a world-class journal and not just regional, although we would certainly include regional authors, poets and writers and so forth. But I pitched the idea to you about combining literature and criticism and philosophy. Let's see how that might work. I mean, there was one major journal that dealt with philosophy and literature, and so I thought, well, we don't have a lot of competition in that regard, but maybe it would work. I came off editing a philosophy journal there at the New School, so I thought I had enough experience and how to do that kind of publication under my belt. So I thought I might be able to make some contributions. But I thought when we talked about how, yes, we wanted this to be world class, certainly wanted to include regional artists, but we also wanted to convey the mystique of Alaska somehow, right? And so we talked about that in some ways, and it's interesting. We had this debate about whether we should have photos on the cover, and at first I was against it because knowing how much complicated production is with the journals, I thought, well, maybe we should start off slow. But fortunately, you really insisted on it, and that was the way to convey some of the beauty and mystique of Alaska, while at the same time being, trying to be very globally oriented. In fact, we included in the first edition a bunch of Polish samizdat poems at that time that I was able to get, and it just kind of worked, very well at first, and we had to figure out all the management and production angles, get the funding, all these different kinds of things. So it was quite an effort to get that started. Fortunately, we were able to get a good national distributor, DeBoer out of New Jersey. They were the ones that distributed our journal back at the New School, and so I thought maybe they would be willing to distribute ours as well and take a chance with us. And thanks to you, I mean, I think I don't know what you did to persuade the guy, but we were able to get him to distribute that journal, and that made a big difference, I think, because when we produced our first few issues, you could find them in New York City, you could find them in several different places around the country.
Or what I did do is I shared the vision. I shared the vision that something national and international was going to be coming out of Alaska. Yeah. That's not what they expected to hear. That we would have, and like you said, you had this cool little thing you smuggled out of Poland that with the poets. I had some national writers lined up that we were going to do special features, and that eventually would move internationally in the other areas. And so I shared a vision with them, and they were pretty excited about the vision.
I was just surprised at how well it took off. And I think, a lot of credit goes to you, because you were really good at selecting the right stories, and you just did a marvelous job of that. And so I was thinking, oh boy, we're okay, we'll give this a shot. But whether we can do, whether it'll be successful or not would be a big question. And of course, we were experimenting with this idea of combining philosophy, literature, poetry, and criticism all into one thing. And eventually, that didn't quite work out. So it kind of converged or morphed into really just a fabulous showcase for literature and poetry. And so that's, that was great. That's the way it worked out,
It wasn't only the self-imposed obstacle of making something national and international, with the aspiration for it to be something that the world would want to be a part of. And that means it has to be really, really good. So just by definition, that's really hard. And I kind of assumed we could do that. What I wasn't thinking is that was really, really, really hard. But maybe there was some bravado or naivete. I felt after talking with you and that we were aligned on the vision. What could go wrong?
For all the trouble we had putting that thing together, and it was always a headache and whatnot. I'm just so delighted to be part of that and have that as part of my little legacy as well. And it was fun. Of course we'd have our conflicts and everything, but it was fun working with you really through those years. I just, I had to leave at a certain point, and I had interest in my own scholarship that I had to get done. But it was a great pleasure working with you, Ron. Really.
Yeah. Well, we did good things. It is part of your legacy for sure. And the thing that amazes me now that I never believed for a long time is what a difference it's made in the lives of so many new and emerging writers.